I'm deeply humbled to have the opportunity to stand in front of so many leaders, so many people that have made Indiana the exception to the rule in the United States of America. I have to be honest with you, with some friends from the 6th Congressional District over at the, seated by the kitchen, I think. As my friends know, we're not used to crowds this large. I was racing off to an event recently in Rushville, Indiana. I was running a little bit late, and I came running up the steps of the auditorium, and I looked down. There were just 5 people down on the front row. And I turned to the organizer, and I said, "There's just 5 people down there for my speech." And he said, "Yes, sir, I've seen that." And I said, "Well, didn't you tell him I was the speaker?" And he said, "No, sir, but we're going to find out who did." So, so thanks for coming anyway. Says more about your commitment to the future of this state and the future of this nation. But we're humbled by it. And I cannot tell you what it means to me to be introduced and to enjoy the friendship and to enjoy the leadership of America's best governor. As the governor said, I'm the third-ranking Republican in the House of Representatives, which makes me, by my count, the third most important irrelevant person on Capitol Hill. And but my requirements of leadership take me around the country a little bit. Sometimes that provokes some conversations, and people will come up to you. They see you traveling. They wonder what's going on, and the question I most often get is, "What's Mitch really like?" Give this great governor another round of applause. It's results that have got America talking about Indiana Governor Mitch Daniels. And really, the results speak for themselves. Let's reflect on them for just a second. After inheriting $700 million in debt, this administration and this Republican leadership paid off the debt, passed a balanced budget, and did it all without raising taxes once on the 6 million people of Indiana. Extraordinary record of accomplishment, capping property taxes, reducing the state payroll by 5,000, even improved the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. And on a more serious note, in these difficult economic times, thanks to the leadership of this administration, Indiana is now ranked #1 in the Midwest for investment, and for the first time in our state's history, has a AAA credit rating. America is investing in Indiana because of the leadership in this room. And I want to acknowledge Team Daniels as well, the hardest working lieutenant governor in the United States of America, and his partner in this effort, Becky Skillman. Thank you for your leadership. And not just because he's suing the federal government, Attorney General Greg Zeller is in the House. General, we appreciate you. A devoted public servant, Todd Rokita, I think, is back that way. Served Indiana with great distinction, and I know will in the future. And there are others as well. State Auditor Tim Berry, State Treasurer Richard Murdoch isn't here. These are wonderful people. Senate Majority Leader David Long, and while he's not here, I think we should acknowledge the next Speaker of the Indiana General Assembly, Brian Bosma. And I would be remiss if I did not recognize the highest-ranking official in this room. You know, there's an old saying that behind every great man is a woman rolling her eyes. Karen Pence is in the House. You know, we'll be married 25 years this summer, and a lot of you don't know Karen as well as I wish you did. She and Chairman Clark actually went to grade school together, and he knows her well. But I should tell you, Karen is a mother of 3 teenagers. She's a teacher, an art teacher. She's a pilot. She's an advocate for what she believes in, and most importantly of all, She's a Butler Bulldog, graduate of Butler University, and proud of it. How about them dogs, everybody? I don't think we've given them the cheer they deserve tonight. You know, some people say, well, they could have made history. They could have inspired the country. I got to tell you, some of my travels earlier this week have taken me across this country already. Anybody shouldn't doubt it for a second. The Butler Bulldogs did make history. The Butler Bulldogs did inspire America. And Indiana's proud of it. You know, what a difference a year makes. You think about a year ago, after Republican defeats in 2006 and 2008 on a national level. You know, I was hoping that we were on the brink of a new beginning nationally. But I had no idea. I mean, a year ago, most Republicans around the country were still sure of our principles, but we were pretty uncertain about the future. It seemed like there was only a remnant of people in this country unbowed by the glamour and the appeal of the new American left. Despite success on a statewide basis here in Indiana even, we saw a Democrat be elected to the presidency with a majority in the Hoosier State for the first time since 1964. Seemed like an unconquerable juggernaut of one-party liberal government in Washington, D.C. I mean, according to MSNBC, Barack Obama had a 120% approval rate. No, seriously. I mean, his approval rating at the time was over 65% in all 57 states. Thanks for getting that. I mean, you have Democrat majority in the General Assembly, Democrat majorities in our delegation to Washington, D.C., and unprecedented Democrat majorities in both houses in Congress. Match that with unliberal dominance in the media, unchallenged liberal dominance in the media, our courts, our public schools, our universities. It was a force that seemed indomitable to everybody except you. Now look at us. Look at what we've done. Because of many of you, I believe the American people are on the march for freedom. It began here in Indiana. It marched through Virginia. It marched through New Jersey. And now the state formerly known as Massachusetts has a Republican member of the United States Senate. Men and women, the American people are on the march. And the Republican Party is leading the charge. I mean, as we say south of Highway 40, who'da thunk it? Really is extraordinary. And the example of fiscal discipline here in Indiana has been contagious. Even Republicans in Congress have returned to fiscal discipline and reform. I mean, let's be honest about it. 3 years ago, congressional Republicans didn't just lose their majority, they lost their way. They walked away from the principles that minted our national governing majority in 1980, then again in 1994. And the American people walked away from us. But I got to tell you, after a year that saw every single House Republican vote against the failed stimulus bill, every single House Republican vote against the budget-busting budget, and every single Republican oppose that government takeover of health care, I'm here to tell you, my fellow Hoosiers, Republicans are back in the fight, and they're back in the fight on the right, and we ought to be proud of them.